Alright, what's going on, guys? Trey back again here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Batman the Dark Knight trilogy video. I've sort of been in a stint lately. Of course, Dark Knight Rises came out, last weekend. And absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I've seen it twice already. Plan to go see it again at least once or twice more in the theaters because I love the movie that much. And I decided, I've been doing a lot of videos, reviews, talking about it. Why not do a review of the actual trilogy itself as a whole and try to do it, in a timely fashion, pretty condensed. Because I think that, the three movies together, yes, you can review them individually, but they're kind of one story as a whole. The character of Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale's Batman, so to speak, in this trilogy, sort of his story, goes all the way through all three of them. So I'm going to attempt to do a review of all three without getting in too in depth into each one. So let's start, of course, with Batman Begins. So Batman Begins, when it came out, to me personally, I actually wasn't even really looking for it. It was sort of at a time when I was in college and I was really focused on my schoolwork and stuff, and also was in a party and stuff. So I didn't really really know about it until after it came out. Once it came out, I watched it. I didn't even end up seeing that one in theaters. I ended up seeing it later on DVD. I rented it, and I was blown away. But I should say that. But at the same time, there are a few little things about Batman Begins that a lot of people don't like. Okay, so first of all, from the time Christian Bale becomes Batman in Batman Begins to the end of the movie, is amazing all the way through. A lot of people, and me not included, but a lot of people, and I can understand this criticism, find that the movie is a bit too long and that the part sort of where he becomes Batman, a lot of people find that to just drag through, where it doesn't, it just feels like maybe it's a little bit too long, like they could have shrunk it quite a bit. And, people going back to watch it again, I think a lot of people have trouble going back and watching Batman Begins because the Dark Knight is just so exciting all the way through from beginning to end action. I mean, the first opening sequence is the Heath Ledger Joker bank robber scene. And right off the bat, it's super exciting, and then all the way through to the end of the movie, it's super exciting. There's almost no slow parts, and what slow parts there are is just basically good character development. Batman Begins, on the other hand, I feel like the first part of it, where he's becoming Batman, is a bit slow. It is a little bit slow, and I can understand people's criticism for not liking it. A lot of people probably, actually, myself included, would think that, or actually would say that, out of the three, the one that I enjoy the least is Batman Begins. That being said, though, I think that it's better than, probably as a film, better than almost any other superhero film there is, aside from maybe the two other Dark Knight movies. You could compare it to a lot of the great superhero films we've had. X2, The Avengers was really good. Now, these are all different types of movies, though. But I still definitely would put it probably as number 3 of my favorite. These three movies in the trilogy are my favorite comic book movies ever, with Batman Begins being number 3. Now, so that's pretty much the bad about it, is it's a little long and people tend to think it drags a bit. Maybe they should have done a director's cut and take out some parts. Now, there are a lot of amazing things about it. Number 1, we finally got to see the Scarecrow as a villain in a Batman movie. Before that, we had never seen that before, or we'd never seen that at all. The Scarecrow sort of is one of those Batman villains that I think people would just really want to see in live action form. And it never happened in the previous Batman movies. So I think it just made sense. It was a good choice for them for this movie. And also, Ra's al Ghul had never been done before either. And he's an amazing villain as well, too. And the way that they, Liam Neeson, of course, is an amazing actor. The way that they sort of wove it in the story, if you guys can remember, going way back now, you had, who's the name of the actor? I forget the name of the actor, but you had sort of a decoy for Ra's, who everybody thought was Ra's, which actually wasn't, for the League of Shadows. And then you had Liam Neeson, who actually was Ducard, who actually was Ra's al Ghul himself, which I thought was a really nice twist. And actually, I didn't even see it coming, even though I've been a fan of Ra's, all this time. It's just the way that he acted, and how he seemed so genuine to Bruce, everything like that. It just really was a nice twist there. And of course, that part near the end there is amazingly exciting. The battle scene at the end where Batman sort of I, I I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you, and then flies out the back of the elevated train, people mover type thing, is I think just an amazing scene. I mean the whole ending battle is great. The Scarecrow as a villain, just fantastic. I loved every part of it. He might have been a little underutilized, but after that, of course, he had a scene, and he had at least two scenes, I think, in The Dark Knight. No, one scene in The Dark Knight, and then, of course, came back in Crane in The Dark Knight Rises to be the judge, which was fun too. So he got his due, but in that movie, I felt he could have been used a little bit more. However, Roz is sort of like that. He's the Don, so to speak. You have your League of Shadows. You got to have a figurehead, so he's the figurehead of that, and he's another great villain too. Batman has a lot of great villains, and those two, obviously, I think were really cool to see on the big screen. I would have always liked to see a Mr. Freeze done by in Christopher Nolan's universe, but done right, on the big screen, because I think Mr. Freeze is an awesome villain too. But unfortunately, we probably won't ever get to see that. But who knows? I mean, eventually, maybe they'll do a more realistic Batman and actually have a Mr. Freeze, which would be really cool as well. Getting off a little bit of tangent there. So yeah, Batman Begins as a whole, I do love the film. Another scene I should talk about a bit too is the scene where Batman sort of taken from year one, where he calls in backup, so to speak. That was awesome. Probably, I think that's almost the only CG they really used throughout the entire trilogy. It's one of the only scenes that they use that much CG to create the bats and everything like that. And yeah, I mean that's just great stuff. Really, really, really good stuff. So it was a good beginning, a little slow, but I really like the end of Batman Begins. And I think that going back and watching it now after seeing The Dark Knight Rises, it can be appreciated more because of how Christopher Nolan has tied it all in at the end of The Dark Knight Rises and how it all relates back to League of Shadows and to Ra's. So I think that when you actually think about the Dark Knight trilogy as a whole, Ra's actually is probably, even though Heath Ledger's performance as Joker sticks out to everybody as being the best part of the whole thing, Ra's actually might be the centerpiece villain for the whole trilogy. He might be actually your one main villain. I think so, because his actions and everything he does affects more than any other character or villain in the in the trilogy. I think so. And regardless of its slow parts, I still think Batman Begins is very necessary in this trilogy to sort of get everything started, create that emotional attachment between the audience and Bruce, Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. Also, there's a lot of scenes with Rachel in it too, him saving Rachel, the parts that are showing them sort of growing up, the whole exploration of fear in the movie where, you have why do we follow Bruce and, from his dad and all these different types of great lines, and it's just a fantastic story. Going on from there, The Dark Knight. So my favorite movie of all time, bar none, not even close. There really isn't even any other movie that even comes close to it, in my opinion. I love this movie to death. I have seen this movie probably 20 times maybe, to the point where I know every line in the movie pretty much as I'm watching it. I can recite every one if I wanted to, although I wouldn't do that because that annoys people if you're watching with me. But from the beginning to end, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The story is great. There's no wasted time. It's very dense. It's just awesome. Let's start from the beginning. So you have Heath Ledger come in as the bank robber in the bank robber Joker scene, which is awesome, by the way. I love that scene. I think it's great. I think the best part about it is how the Joker has each of his henchmen, so to speak, kill each other off as they go. So by the time it gets to the end, it's just him, really. And, of course, the good part where the guy with a shotgun who is sort of, I guess we can assume some kind of manager there or worker there, knowing that it's a mob bank. When Heath Ledger puts there's like tear gas or grenade or whatever into his mouth and then walks away with the thing and gets into the bus. I just love it, and takes off his mask and everything and says his line there. It's just really, really awesome way to start. So going from there, we get to meet Harvey Dent, of course, who I think is probably one of the best versions of Harvey Dent in any comic book or you know, Batman medium. I really think so because I think that his progression from being Gotham City's White Knight to Two-Face makes perfect sense to me. It really does because if you think about it, you know, he loves Rachel and he wants nothing more than to clean up Gotham City and make it a great place. And he probably never thought that things like that would happen. You know, like that could happen to him. Still not entirely clear on whether or not that was actually the Joker or whether that was uh, Maroni. I think it's Maroni, yeah, because Carmine Falcone is in the first movie. Then Maroni is the mob boss that takes over after him, so to speak, or one of them anyway. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Maroni. I don't think it's supposed to be the Joker. I think the Joker's telling the truth when he says that he didn't actually kidnap her. Or at least that was my interpretation of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'd like to be corrected if I am wrong. But I'm pretty sure there's nothing that alludes to the fact that it actually was the Joker and that it actually was Maroni's men who did it. Because Ramirez is in there too, and I think she's in there when Harvey gets into the cab and leaves the well, not cab but car and leaves. And I also thought that was genius the way he falls, like even just the idea of having him become Two-Face by falling over, you know, and then having half his body like that burnt. And that's just pure genius, absolute pure genius. Because when you see it happening, when you're watching it, you're like, oh, I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. And then they do it. And it's great. It's absolutely great. I just love it. Of course, Heath Ledger has so many lines in the movie that are just amazing. He's a lot of fun to watch. He actually steals the show, kind of. You know, Christian Bale is great too, of course, and Mourning Rachel and everything that happens with him is awesome as well. But you kind of just want to see more of Heath Ledger playing as the Joker, like more and more and more, because he's just so much fun. The nurse scene is hilarious, of course, the high and everything he does with that. And then some people don't like the ending, but I do like the ending, actually. I like everything the Joker says at the end, the way, you know, he talks about, you know, chaos and, you know, the immovable object and all this stuff, and he won't kill him because he's just too much fun. And I mean, there's just so many great lines, and you know, just well thought out. And sometimes things just go right. You know, everything just comes together. You start a project, you work on a project, everything just goes right, and it just works out, and it's just brilliant. You know, The Dark Knight Rises, I think. I can't say it really worked out as well. I think that in the beginning it looked like it was going to, but because they tried to do so much in time constraints, there were some things that probably could have been done better. But The Dark Knight as a whole is probably the climax of the whole series and is my favorite for sure. No question about it. So going on from The Dark Knight with having the Joker and having sort of, in my opinion, the climax of the series, you want to see it have a good ending too. And The Dark Knight Rises definitely was that, I think, personally. Now, some people are torn on the movie. Some people don't really like it too much. I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It has a lot of the feel of The Dark Knight, minus, of course, Heath Ledger as the Joker. And I'm sure that if he was still alive, they would have put him in the movie. I guarantee it. Just to do something, you know, maybe have him be, instead of, you know, Crane, Scarecrow be the judge, have him be the judge, and then cause some other mayhem and do something, you know. I just guarantee he would have been in the movie if they would have, if he would still be here. So it's a shame, but you know, what are you going to do? I think they made the right decision by leaving the character out of it, leaving Heath Ledger's Joker alone, not even mentioning him. Also, too, he wouldn't have been there because he would have been at Arkham, and Bane frees the inmates at Blackgate, so he's not there anyway. He's over in a different area, so it makes perfect sense. And you know, I mean, kind of a shame. I would have also liked to see maybe them create. Well, he's, you know, that just there would have been so many different opportunities to make him. You could have even given him another movie as well and had Harley Quinn get involved. That would be really cool. Like have like a Harley Quinn type character, and just do her kind of just the way she was in Mad Love and in the cartoon show, the cartoon series of the comic books. You know, have her come in as his a psychiatrist and then end up falling in love with him and all this kind of stuff. That would have been just awesome. But hey, what are you going to do? That's the world. That's life. That's how things go. Going on from there, you know, of course, the choice of going with Bane and spoilers, by the way, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, because I don't want to spoil it too much, but going with Bane and the character that reveals herself at the end, as well as Catwoman, I think was also a pretty good choice. Catwoman's a good choice because you want to give Bruce Wayne a love interest after Rachel's gone. She kind of looks like Rachel, which makes it makes sense. You know, it makes it work because it's like, yeah, she does kind of look like Rachel. So same color hair, all that kind of stuff. So it would make sense that Bruce would like her, be attracted to her. And also, Bane is very different from the Joker. If you can't go with the Joker, you know, you could do the Riddler, but Riddler a long time has been sort of criticized as a character, even though he's not the same as the Joker. I mean, I know he's not exactly the same. He's a narcissist, obviously, but which is not, the Joker's not a narcissist. But a lot of people always, you know, compare the two and say that they're very similar because of the way they scheme and make plots and all this kind of stuff and play games and this, you know, all these types of things. So from that perspective, I can say that I think it was a good decision to not go with the Riddler and to go with Bane, because Bane in Nightfall is such a threat to Batman that the Joker seems like almost nothing. He's that much of a threat. And also, if you think about it in terms of the trilogy, Bane does a lot more damage to Batman than the Joker does in The Dark Knight. You know, Bane dislocates one of his vertebrae. He, you know, basically could have killed him if he wanted to. Decimates Gotham, almost destroys it completely, and arguably in the end, his actions as well as our other secret character ends up, you know, killing Batman arguably, or maybe he got away, maybe he survived this kind of stuff. It was pretty damn close. So he's just, you know, really could have killed Bruce at any time if he really wanted to. So he kind of steps it up a level, you know what I mean? Because he's even more dangerous. I don't think anybody would argue that Bane is more dangerous than the Joker. Especially to Bruce and to Batman, because the Joker won't kill Bruce. He'll destroy his life, but he won't kill him in general, which he did actually, because, you know, Rachel ended up dying. But Bane, of course, you know, just beats Batman to a pulp and basically defeats him essentially. So, and could have put him down at any time if he wanted to. So that was Tom Hardy's portrayal too as well was really good. Not perfect though. The voice was a little off. I mentioned this before in my review that his voice just didn't quite sound right. As well as, you know, there was a lot of things. There's a lot of things in that story. They try to cram in a little bit too much. Maybe too many characters with John Blake and all that kind of stuff. But I personally think it worked out really well in the end, and it really tied back into the events of The Dark Knight, talking about Harvey Dent with Bane's speech and all that kind of stuff, as well as Ra's al Ghul in League of Shadows to the beginning as well. Plus, Bane's got a lot of badass scenes and a lot of badass you know, things that he says throughout it as well. So altogether, all in all, I love the ending of it. It was perfect. It was just as good as the beginning, you know, and you know, I can understand if some people actually thought that The Dark Knight Rises was better than The Dark Knight, because there are so many exciting parts in it with Batman fighting. I mean, we all love to see a good fight scene. And up until that point, Batman really doesn't have, you know, anybody that he can really throw down with in that way. I mean, Ra's, yeah, but he uses a sword. The Joker, yeah, but he uses, like, you know, crowbar and the dogs and different stuff like that. Bane, just Bane. You know, that's it. So, very, very well done. The trilogy as a whole, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, a perfect score. And some of you may disagree that nothing's perfect, but when it does something that no other trilogy in comic book history has been able to do, it sets the bar higher. Until something surpasses it, you know, I say it's the best that can. It's basically the best that can be done in our society, because so far it is the best that's been done. And I think it's going to be a long time until anybody is going to be able to top what Nolan, Bale, everybody else that worked on it, because a lot of the cast or a lot of the people behind the scenes and stuff were the same people, writer and everything. Until someone can actually top that, I think it's going to be a really, really long time. It's going to be really hard to do. I mean, 3 movies like that, of that caliber, of that quality, all tying in together, taking themselves seriously, having amazing villains, and, you know, that much awesomeness, it's not easy to top. Anyway, I'm about spent, so I'll call the review here. My favorite trilogy of all time, 3 of my favorite movies of all time. Dark Knight Rises was fantastic to end it all with. Batman Begins, a great beginning, and the climax, The Dark Knight, for me anyway, the climax, The Dark Knight, Awesome stuff. Let me know what you guys thought about the Dark Knight trilogy. If you feel like doing a review for the whole thing, feel free to do it. I enjoy watching them. Send it as a video response to me. Let's talk about it below. Which was your favorite and why? Later, guys. Peace.